I don't know it.
I like this outfit. Thanks. Especially the socks.
I mean, all I
That's okay.
saw was the. Do you want to know?
No.
I'll tell you what I saw on Instagram.
Do it yesterday.
Did you?
Yes. Would you guys say that in that trailer that we just watched, are those ashes or is it snow? You're the brainchild of this.
Sure.
Stuff.
I'm going to go. We didn't discuss that detail, but I think that you can't go wrong with either or, so I'll let you believe whatever you want to believe.
I think that the snowfall is why people think of it as
Game of Thrones,
'cause
sure.
of the winter is coming thing, which
of
I know
course.
nothing about.
But
I
there's
see.
also no snow built up on the edifice,
That's true.
Maybe the ground is warm.
perhaps.
All right.
Anyway, Julian and I have our coffees because our kids don't sleep. Kids, neither one of them do. But we're back again for the coaches roundtable, and we each have our own microphone this time, so we can interrupt each
We're
other.
upgrading.
See, it's just like that. How does it sound, Nicole? Salvi, sound good? Sounds good.
Everything sounds fantastic.
Can we hear you this time?
Can we hear you?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Okay, we got an appropriate microphone for Nicole, and we're here. So, last week we talked about, what did we talk about last week, Jed?
Customizations.
That's right. That's right. And today we're going to start. If you are a street parking member and you've spent any amount of time on the members only website, or when you joined, if you've joined in the last, I want to say a year and a half or so, you should have received a series of emails called the Unlocked series. And it kind of goes through our belief systems and some of the things that street parking is founded on. And the very first one that should have come to your inbox, or if you didn't receive it in your inbox, you could find on members only, is, do I need to work out more? So I think all of us at some point on this panel and watching, and the people in this room, have believed at some point that more fitness must be better fitness. And the more time I put in, the more valuable it's going to be and the more I'm going to get out of it. So we're going to talk about that little nugget and whether or not that's true, and kind of what we believe here at SP.
Awesome. Well, who wants to kick this off? I mean, Alex, what you think? I mean, last week you made a comment about you were really in that. I mean, we've all been in that extreme culture of, some kind of competitive environment. Naturally it just happens, right? Given what environments we were in and what we looked forward to kind of watching, as far as, for us, it was the games at the time, right? We were all competitors at one point. Did you, once you were not in competing anymore and then kind of went into owning your gym at the time and even just kind of made it a day-to-day, were you getting overwhelmed by not working out as much, or what kind of adjustments did you make?
Yeah, I definitely had a period where I was working out multiple times a day.
Sure.
And I think, this is probably going to be a recurring theme, I would imagine, at these roundtables, but Jeb brought up last week about, why are you doing this, right? And at the time, it was because I wanted to compete. I wanted to do well in competition. And so training multiple times a day and being able to recover between those training periods was really important to me. But then, life happens and my goals changed, and that was no longer a feasible option really in my life based off of what I wanted to accomplish. So I struggled with it at first because, inevitably my fitness did, it suffered a little bit, but I was actually really surprised with how much I maintained for years after having done that. But now it's just, sometimes it baffles me that people work out twice a day or do 2 workouts in a day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember those days. But yeah.
Yeah, so and I think that's a good point. So Alex said that when she was doing that, though, it was very specifically to compete, and I think it's a very small percentage of the population that actually has aspirations of competing at a level where twice a day would ever be necessary. In her case, being able to recover in between sessions, it was part of the sport that she was trying to participate in. So I actually don't think there's anything wrong with that. I actually do think it's necessary at a certain level to be able to do that if you're competing in that sport. Now, most people, when they're working out for hours on end or doing multiple sessions, that's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because they see Alex doing it and she looks great or she's super fit and they want to look great or be super fit, not to compete, but just because. And they think that they need to do what she was doing for her sport just to, look that or be that way in life. I would say similarly, like, I guess I've lost fitness. I've also been pregnant twice and had a complete knee replacement surgery during the period of time since I was competing. But it's things on like high end level things. Like my mile time is probably a little bit slower. I can't do as many unbroken muscle ups. I'm not going to snatch or clean and jerk nearly the weight that I used to. But if you put me into a regular just workout, I don't know that there's going to be that much of a difference. And I don't really look much different aside from being a little bit smaller. So that's kind of where, like, why are you doing this? Are you doing it to use it for a sport, or are you doing it to maintain a level of fitness to improve your life and to look a certain way? And that's where the conversation comes into, how much is appropriate or how much do I need to actually do?
Yeah, Jeb, what about you? I know you used to own a gym as well. And then at what point, though, even because you guys went from that to being part of the SP team and, kind of approaching this mindset, was there any changes for you as far as your fitness? Would you ever consider at any point where you were at your like peak levels and now you're doing what you're doing now? So
I would say Jeb's at his peak right now.
I feel like I'm at my peak right now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it comes down to like how I would define fitness, really. My strength has definitely gone down, right? My power production has gone down, but how I feel in my body, how my joints feel, and how prepared I am for pretty much anything that gets thrown at me right now, I feel very good. I'm not walking around with like, oh, something's wrong with my shoulder, and like I'm all beat up all the time. And I think that I heard something recently, so I didn't make this up, but I really, really liked it. And it said that the difference between medicine and poison is dosage and timing, right? And so a lot of times I think we get either people that are not familiar with what we do or the type of high-intensity functional fitness or whatever, and so they see a 10-minute workout and they're like, what? This is like, there's no way, right? And they feel like they need to be doing more. Or there's people like you're saying that see really high-level competitive fitness athletes training 4 or 5 hours a day and looking a certain way and then thinking that that's what they need to do, but they've got jobs and they've got all kinds of other stuff, and not to mention to support the recovery that's required for that type of training, it's nutrition, it's sleep, it's hydration, it's stress management, it's body work, it's all kinds of other stuff. So, I mean, for me personally, I have been through those phases. I didn't stay in those phases for too long because I kind of quickly saw like I want to be more of a coach than try to be like a competitive athlete. But as a coach, I've seen that so many times from so many different people from different, walks of life, having that feeling of like, I need to be doing more. And it's, I think, coming down to a sense of needing to have something that we can control, right? Rather than doing what we need to do and being patient and continuing to be consistent and allowing the results to take place over time. It's like, well, if I just do a little bit more now and a little bit more now, then the results will come faster. And that's just not how it works.
Well, and we see shows like The Biggest Loser, right? and I used to watch The Biggest Loser, like when it was first new. It was like probably like 20 years ago. But I used to watch it, and people would be like, oh, look how much they're doing, and they're losing weight so fast, and they're just like working out all day and eating like nothing at all. And so it's that type of stuff that's been like fed to us so much in the fitness industry in general, that people are like, well, if I just work out more and eat less and work out more and eat less, and it's crazy. You mentioned sleep. When I was training multiple hours a day or multiple sessions a day, I was sleeping consistently 9 hours a night. And
Sounds so
I didn't,
nice.
I know, right? I sleep like 9 hours a week at this point, but like, you know, I didn't have kids and I worked, but it was pretty chill, like schedule and everything. Like it was my job was to work out that much. And so for anyone with any sort of like real life to try to fit that in is just, it's going to be next to impossible or diminishing returns for sure. I would say one of the things that you mentioned briefly was like your nutrition is on point and things like that. I think you've had a huge turnaround with like working out less, but cleaning up your nutrition at the same time, probably more than any of us here. And like what actually increased your fitness while you were still competing, working out less, but just focusing more on food with it.
Yeah, it's easy to look back now and see all the things that I was doing wrong, like really, really wrong, even outside of fitness. I would say the things that helped me out the most was starting to gain education on nutrition. And once you start understanding nutrition, if you really think about it, you're only like 3, 4, even maybe 5 books away from really starting to understand the fundamentals of how nutrition plays such a huge role in your body and how it can affect your workouts, you know, even your sleep and all that stuff. When you start figuring out that, you know, it's not individualized, right? There's so many pieces, like Jeb was saying, you know, mental health, you know, what is your day looking like, stress, your nutrition, your sleep, all that stuff, you know, and it was a long process for sure. I think, you know, when we started getting busy, I also started you start feeling selfish because the more time you're trying to spend to get more workouts in, well, I know you love working out just as much as I do, but I started feeling selfish because like, it's like, well, you got to figure out like, what are you trying to achieve at this point, right? And when we were both done competing, we had discussed that after 2017. So even like what I had done that year, it was like my goodbye to competing as well. There was a hard, you know, transition for sure because there was more of like what I thought people expected of me. But then once I kind of took the time to reflect and, you know, just be like, well, what do you want to do with your fitness and what are your personal goals? And my goals were obviously just to continue working out and having fun with it, you know, staying in shape, having, setting the example for street parking as well, alongside you as well. And, you know, just continuing to gain education and staying the course and not overwhelming myself. And, that's...
And I mean, to be honest, kind of like what Alex said, like I'm surprised at the level of fitness because I haven't competed this is going into almost 6 years now. So I'm with the 2 babies and the knee surgery. Like I'm surprised at the level of fitness that I have now, like based on what I believed back then was necessary to maintain this level of fitness. Would you say the same thing?
Yeah, I would say that one thing that's different from when I was training multiple times a day, maybe my strength and maybe I would be able to do multiple workouts and not be as wrecked. But I wasn't moving as intensely as I was now.
Had all sorts of, like Jeb was mentioning,
inflammation. I had a lot of inflammation.
Aches and pains.
Yeah, aches and pains, joints. I just felt uncomfortable. It wasn't a good feeling. Now I feel like because I know my time is limited with working out, we focus on our 1 workout a day, unless we're doing something new and trying to create a new program for street parking, which I'm in the process of doing now. You know, I'll add an extra like 30 minutes on Monday and Wednesday, but that's about it, right? I would say that now I have way more intensity. I'm able to attack workouts with the intensity that I didn't know I was capable of, which in turn is way more beneficial than what I was doing beforehand. Now the workouts, the effect of them lasts longer. I'm able to recover more, spend more time with, other things that I have to do that are way more important. It does feel nice, though, to obviously approach workouts like benchmark workouts that are very common for us in our background that we used to have, and still to be able to match them, if not improve on those times. I know Alex had a similar experience recently as well. That, to me, has shown us how, we are still in amazing shape, if not better. But, can we do it for multiple hours on end? Absolutely not. But do we need to? Absolutely not.
Yeah, so I think part of, and Jeb kind of, I feel like, hinted at this maybe a little bit as well, and maybe it was unintentional, but I feel like when you find somebody who has a goal, I mean, most people have a goal of leaning out or weight loss, so I'll use that as an example. That's not everyone's goal, but it's a common goal. You'll either find people that will very easily, you'll say, hey, let me help you out with your nutrition. They'll be like, no problem, I got this. Just don't tell me to work out. I don't want to work out. I hate it. Or you'll find people that are like, I'll work out for 2 hours. Do not take away my favorite foods. I'm just going to exercise more because I don't want to mess with my diet. I feel like people fall on one side or the other. And the people who are trying to exercise all the time oftentimes do so because they don't want to address the real issue, which is what they're eating. And exercise is going to make you more hungry. So it actually can cause I've seen people gain weight when they start exercising or exercising more because they're so hungry because they're working out all the time and they just can't figure out I'm working out all the time. Why can't I lose weight? So I feel like a lot of times this desire to exercise more is linked to a lack of desire to address the real issue, which is the food.
Yeah, it's hard too when running a community this big as what we have, and you see it on our community Facebook page, where people are struggling with their weight loss, or even they think that we're doing more than we actually say we do, and they're kind of using us as an example, not processing the fact that what our backgrounds were, right? So, naturally we were always in some kind of fitness. I mean, you've been doing, some kind of workout since for how many years now?
20.
20 years. I mean, that's all I've known. I've grown up playing sports, even out of high school. I continue to be heavily involved in fitness and so on to the point where we are right now, right? And even we get hit with those moments of realizing wow, it's bridging the gap between sleep, nutrition, and fitness that is going to be sustainable for the long term, because if you don't understand that, then as you get older, you're going to constantly be confused as to why either your health's declining or your strength's declining. And it can be very demotivating if you don't kind of start understanding that sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So in the write-up, that's the whole reason that we chose this topic. It talks about when do I add in accessories, or how often should I do some of the extra programming, or what's enough, and our general tone is pick one thing 4 or 5 days a week. The only reason that you would ever need to add more to that is because you have time, you really to see the results that you're looking for, but you've got to really attack it and go for it and be focused on it when you're doing it as much as possible. I know a lot of you guys are working out with little kids around and stuff. So let's just be honest. No BS. Jeb, give us a breakdown of your training week, a general breakdown.
Okay, so I go through little micro phases, but
Of course.
right now, just to keep it interesting. So right now, I am trying to do something every day that involves using my body, right? And probably 1 or 2 of those days is just yoga. More kind of aerobic conditioning pieces. So part of that is just for me personally, it helps keep things really simple. I've gotten to where I can literally walk out to the garage It's cold. I turn the heater on. I literally start my clock and grab my jump rope, and I jump rope for 3 minutes. And while I'm jumping, I think about what I'm going to do, and I will literally just like do kettlebell swings, do the assault bike, do some push-ups, do some rowing, do some air squats, and I'll go around and around and around for 30 minutes and then call it a day. So I just don't even have to really worry about it. So that's kind of what my week looks like. And I'm also, using those kind of conditioning pieces, like you were saying, to kind of conceptualize some of the stuff that we're working on the back end.
Nice.
What about you?
So Mondays and Wednesdays are days where I have like a double session, which even a double session only includes about, I would say, 40 minutes of combined total fitness.
Yeah, you could easily do those together. You just don't, so that you can work out with the crew later.
Correct. Yeah. So Monday mornings, a couple of us will do these bike wave interval program that we're working on right now for street parking. And so that is on a 30-minute clock. I programmed it to be on a 30-minute clock. You don't really need much time to warm up. You can just kind of jump into it. There's rest programmed in there, and it's great. And then Monday evening, we'll do the street parking workout, and I'll make sure that my nutrition throughout breakfast and lunch is really good. I'll make sure that I have my good carbs, so that way I have the energy needed to, have a good intensive workout and not just do it just to coast through and hang out. No, like if I work out, I want to maximize on the benefits of it. Tuesday, just one workout with the crew, and then Wednesday, again, the morning session with the bike, and then the evening session with the street parking workout. And even then, I'll approach the evening Wednesday session. I'm okay with toning it back because I've already put in a lot of intensity Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning. So
Is that what you call the double kettlebells? Is that toning it back?
Yeah, sure, it is. It's kind of like my way of toning it back a little bit because it doesn't allow me to get in an aerobic workout. More so, it's like now I'm being halted by my ability to move super fast with these kettlebells, right? So it stalls me. It's a different stimulus, I guess, right? And then Wednesday night, we look forward to our pizza. Anyway, Thursday's full rest day. Friday is just one workout. Saturday is just one workout. And usually I'll look at the street parking workout, and if it's like 10 to 12, 15 minutes, then I'll probably cash out with like a 7 to 8 minute bike ride, or beforehand, depending on what the workout is, I'll do 10 minutes on the bike and do like a 2-3 minute rest and go right into the street parking workout because that's what works for me. And again, remember, just keeping my level of fitness and what I feel I just enjoy, that really works for me.
We have a couple questions about that, actually. Is a 12-minute workout really enough to accomplish fitness in general?
I'm gonna get to answer that question once we finish
Oh, absolutely.
the breakdown. The breakdown. So remind me of that after me and Alex talk about our weekly breakdown.
Yeah, mine's pretty super simple. I work out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Usually it's the day the next day's workout. Although now I'm having to make up all the vaults because I missed 21 to 25 logging. So I'm pretty much on the day, and my aches and pains are limiting me in some ways. So I will kind of just look ahead at the week and see what workouts make sense to customize to accommodate for my injuries and which don't. So I might just skip ahead a few days. So yeah, I work out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I either rest completely or do a maintenance session on Thursday, workout Friday with the team in the morning. And then Saturday, I usually do a shift workout because I'm usually pretty beat up by then. And then Sunday, if I didn't do a maintenance on Thursday, I do a maintenance on Sunday. But otherwise, those 2 days are rest days for me. And that's it.
Yeah, mine's basically the same as Alex's. I mean, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I do the street parking workout either the next days or that days, and Thursday I rest. I try to do maintenance. I might not follow along with a video every single time because I've done some of my favorites so many times that I just kind of go through the movements on my own, but super important for me to stretch. And then Friday, Saturday workout. This Saturday, kind of similar to what you guys were saying, I was playing around with some of the new programming that we're coming out with. Both for some Oli EMOMs and some of the gymnastic stuff. but it was still a very short session. I think it was like 40 minutes, and that's it. And that's it. That's all it's been for. And I was doing the 20 rep for a while. That was also on either Monday or Saturday. But that's all it's been for me for, like I said, we're going on 6 years now of just the main street parking workouts. So back to Nicole's question, is the 12-minute workout enough? So I was kind of like thinking about this earlier today as I was driving, and it's like, how do we describe this to people? Again, kind of going back to what some people, what most people's goals are, which is, you know, to be healthy, of course, to be strong, to live life, and also, you know, fit into their clothes better and look better and things like that. There's multiple ways that you can go about it. So the very first way to answer that is there's not one, yes, these 12-minute workouts are the only way to do that. There's multiple ways to do it. If you want to like increase your metabolism and look better, one way you can do it is you can lift heavy and gain muscle, and you're going to burn more calories even just when you're sitting around, when you have more muscle on your body. So that would be one option. Another option would be to do a bunch of cardio and burn fat as you're doing more cardio, like lower intensity type. We're talking like riding the bike or the stair climber or the elliptical, whatever it is, going for a jog. Or you can kind of combine those two things and that's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. Now, none of those are like the right or wrong or only way it should be done. However, street parking is built on the idea that you guys are short on time. And so if we can combine using some weight and we can combine a cardio respiratory stimulus into one workout and you guys put a high level of effort into it, if you are short on time, that is the best way to get the most out of that short amount of time that you possibly can. Because lifting weight and going in and doing like a whole hour lifting session takes time. It takes a lot of equipment. You know, steady state cardio for like an hour every single day, again, takes a lot of time. So yes, the 12 minutes is plenty. Now, the idea though behind it is that you have to put effort into it. If you put the same level of effort into your 12-minute street parking workout that you would put into your 1 hour long jog, it's not going to be enough. You have to match the intensity that we're looking for in those short time windows.
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes, what would you say, Jeb? How often do you feel people actually, or yeah, how many people do you think know what intensity actually looks like? I mean, feels like, sorry. Yeah, what is
within the general population?
Exactly.
I mean, in the general population, not very many people. Not very many people. I mean, because I remember when I first tried a high-intensity workout, and it was a workout that, like, for example, some people can do it in under 3 minutes. And it took me, the first time I did it, like 12 minutes. And I was very tired. Like, I was very tired. I had no idea that there was so much room beyond that 12 minutes to go. Yeah, and while you were talking, I was just thinking, like, maybe I'm speaking for Alex as well. I love to nerd out on, like, the science of why this stuff works, and I would really be happy and enjoy doing that with anyone that wants to on maybe a different, like, Facebook Live or something. But I think that probably what speaks even louder than that is the fact that, I mean, everybody here is saying that, like, this is what we do on a daily basis. And in a 30, 40-minute session, like, at least for me, that's warming up and all that stuff, and then hitting that 12 or 15-minute workout and cooling down for a few minutes. And that's what it is. Yeah. That's what we've been doing. So, yeah, the answer is yeah.
So I think this is a good question for Nicole, actually, behind the mic. What was the difference in your workouts before with you and Rachel back in Florida, and then the first experiences you had working out with Miranda and myself in the garage? How was that for you?
Absolutely horrible, because you get used to the people you work out on a daily basis. And if you're working out with, say, one other person, especially a spouse or someone you see on the regular, I don't feel like you push yourself nearly as much. When you get into a situation where you have a bunch of people who are super fit, working out and crushing you, the intensity kind of increases. You're looking around, everyone's excited, you get excited too, and then you die a little. Intensity was a really difficult thing for me to discover. I hadn't seen it since playing soccer as a kid, And then suddenly I was like, oh, welcome back intensity. So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about in that article, the unlocked article or write-up, I don't know if article is the right word, is intensity is going to be relative to the person. All right, so this is where the goals, the stimulus goals come in for the workouts, where we're saying this workout we want it to take you between 11 and 15 minutes or whatever, and you need to customize it to make sure that you're in that window uncomfortably though. So if you're like cruising and you take 15 minutes and you could have taken 11 minutes, then we want you to push that. Or if you could have still kept it in that window with a little bit more weight or using the higher rep range or a less customized version of the workout, then we want you to do that. The example that I give in the write-up is if I have a 7-minute mile PR and she has a 5-minute mile PR and we both go run a 7-minute mile, that's me pushing intensity and her jogging alongside of me. Absolutely. Even though we ran the mile in the same amount of time, because she's capable of doing it so much faster, she didn't get as much out of that mile run as I did. And similarly, an example that I'll use a lot is people will be like, oh my gosh, I worked out for 2 hours today. And it's like, what did you do? And it's like, well, 2 hours is a little extreme. Let's say I worked out for 45 minutes today. I went for a 45-minute jog. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. How far did you go? And they're like, I went 2 miles. So they were just like really walking/jogging. And this is somebody that might be capable of holding a much higher pace versus somebody's like, oh, my workout was it wasn't long enough today. Like it was only 20 minutes or it was only, let's say 15 minutes. What'd you do? I ran a 5K and you're like, oh my gosh, you ran a 15-minute 5K? You can see that time does not determine the effort that's going into it. Time is one component, but that shouldn't be determining how effective your training is. Your training should be what you're putting into it, not how long it took you to do it. And that's where people need to look at the time goals that we're giving. And I see a lot of times on Facebook, you guys probably see this all the time, where it's like, how is this possible? No one's going to be able to do it in this amount of time and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes we're off. I will admit that. If there's like a new movement or something, we've been off in the past. The very first lunge stir workout, we were off a lot. But in general, this group has done so many workouts, and not just us doing them. We've seen so many people doing so many workouts that we know how long this should take and what people are capable of. So if you look at that and you look at 25-pound dumbbells and you're like, there is no way. First of all, I would encourage you to believe in yourself and try like a little half a round or something like that when you're warming up. You might be capable of more than you think if you're willing to get uncomfortable. Second, if that's not going to happen, grab the 15-pound dumbbells and let it rip and hit the time goal. The time goal is more important. A lot of times we'll see people that are like, oh, I did this workout and I refused to customize it to a lower weight and it took me 45 minutes, and they actually feel better about it because they like slogged through it with the weight that we wrote in the description, completely missing the point of the workout. Again, just because something took a long time, if you're doing 2 reps and then resting 45 seconds in between each set of 2 reps, that's a lot of standing around, and the results are not going to be as great as if you lowered the weight a little bit or customized more.
Nicole, do you got any questions back there? I know we've been chatting a bit.
I do, kind of playing off of what you were just talking about with intensity. Someone asked, what do they do if they do shift? Do they need to do more?
I would say it depends on why they're doing shift. If you're new to this type of training and so that's why you're choosing to do shift, the shift workouts are actually easier to add intensity to in a lot of cases than the other workouts, because they are more simple movements and they're more body weight movements and things like that. So again, it's going to be the intensity levels. Now, I will say that the goals that we give for shift, we try to make super attainable, because we do want you guys to know, like, hey, like at least if you're hitting this, you're on the right track. So a lot of times people that are more fit will say, I blew the shift goal out of the water. That's okay. That's fine. It's still a fine workout, but that's where you can start to maybe play around with, if that's happening on the regular, you can start to play around with throwing in some of the Program A stuff.
Yeah, and I think the other thing worth mentioning is that intensity is super important. Consistency over time is probably the most important thing. And if you are going crazy in a workout to where you cannot move for 3 days after that, it's going to be pretty hard to be consistent. So it's finding this balance between consistency and intensity, and that literally just takes time. You know, you've got to get the reps in. You've got to show up for your workout, and you've got to try to do the full send, see what happens once a week, you know, and then maybe you have just move days. But, you know, overall, intensity is a very relative term. And whether you're doing shift or program A or some glory days thing, there is a way that, you know, you can make it intense, and there's a way that you can make it very not intense. And that's kind of a decision that each person has to make individually, and you'll get better and better at making that decision the more times you show up for your workout. So it's okay if, you know, it doesn't quite work out and you feel like you could have pushed harder. You'll just come back the next day and you'll push a little harder.
You know, when talking about street parking send, when you're in labor, there's this moment that they warn you about, especially if you're doing a natural birth, where they tell you that you're going to start saying, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. And that's like almost when it's over. And so when you're doing the street parking send, like once a week, look for that. Yeah. When you're like, I can't do this, it's too much, then you know you've hit the mark. Don't do it every day, especially if you're new to this type of training, like Jeb is saying. But look for that little moment in time in your workouts every once in a while.
When you get through that moment and you actually finish, it's the best feeling in the world. The workout. I don't know about the...
All right, so we got about 5 more minutes, so we can answer a couple more questions or just continue talking about our experiences. But Nicole, you got something else over there?
Yeah, what is the best way to utilize all the programming? We have workouts, accessory, maintenance. What would you say is a good way to combine those if you're looking to do that?
I mean, kind of going back to, there isn't a best way to combine those. We talked about it a little bit last week. We create all of the buffet of options of fitness because we know that all of you are individuals who have different things that you enjoy, different amount of equipment, maybe your background. I used to, before I was doing high intensity training, I was straight up like meathead bodybuilder style. So that stuff, going back to that, sometimes can be fun for me. People enjoy it. If you are someone who enjoys endurance workouts, then do some more of those, or choose something that you're not comfortable with to try to help yourself grow and keep yourself interested. There's not a right way. And that's why we offer so much. Now, again, if you have time to add stuff in and you want to add stuff in, look for those accessory suggestions that we put every day to kind of help guide you. But there's not at all like a right way to do it or the optimal way to do it. You can hear that all of us don't do a lot of the accessory stuff in general, mostly for time restrictions. I'm sure we would all love to work out more. But there's not a perfect way to do it.
Where would they find those suggestions?
In the workout descriptions, and you can find the workouts, the extra programs on members only, or the weekly accessory workouts are posted on Sunday.
I got to bring something up really quick just because I know we always pitch like, you know, be efficient with your time and everything. I mean, for us, on Saturdays, because, again, we love working out. Like, it's just something we truly enjoy. Saturdays for us is a day for us to kind of tone back from even our regular work stuff a little bit and spend a little bit more time not feeling so rushed in the garage. So, like Miranda will take longer time to warm up, maybe do an accessory or some kind of lifting or whatever, and then the street parking workout. Like, for example, Saturdays was known as squats and sleds, sandwiched in between a street parking workout. And that's what we enjoy doing, right? Like, so for us, that was our hangout time, right? So the more the crew would come by, you know, we weren't so pressed for time. You know, we had kind of sitters taken care of and stuff like that. And that's it. Like, you know, just have to find that healthy balance and not feel so overwhelmed and know that, yes, it is okay if there's a day where you just want to slow it down and take your time in the gym. Like, that's great. Now, but again, we are saying it's not necessary, right? So just keep that in mind.
We have members that do all of it because they just enjoy it. But like Julian's saying, yeah, you can do all of it if you want to, and you've built up to that. It's not necessary to do all of it. So you should not be doing all of it because you feel like you have to see results. Jeb nailed it when he's like, it's consistency. Do it for longer. Be patient. Continue to show up. That's what's really going to change it for you.
Nice. Alex, you have anything to kind of wrap up?
To wrap up, I don't know, but there's been something on my mind. I love analogies.
So do I.
And you were talking about like applying the same level of effort that you might to, I don't know, a 5K to a 500 meter sprint, let's say. And the thought came to my mind, you know how like, and I think it's an ounce or maybe 1.5 ounces of a hard liquor, and then there's wine, and then there's beer, right? And each one requires more volume. Also that,
People
though.
are going to understand this.
Oh, yeah. Now
What
she's
is-
really making a
what
good
is
analogy.
potency?
I fully understand
So,
this analogy.
yeah, everyone's
Nicole's like,
ears
oh, yeah,
perked
now
up.
I get it.
So like the vault workout is a tequila shot,
Right,
or you can have like 7 glasses of wine
right.
over time.
But what
and
you
that's
don't
just gonna
wanna
take a lot longer,
do-
and your belly's going to be full.
Is have a shot of beer. Like, that's not
I
effective.
mean, it would probably be effective for me right now, but yes, I
True.
understand what you're saying.
Same. But yeah, so applying that something that would need to take more to get the same result, I can't apply to less volume. Yeah. So that was just on my mind.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that.
And the
course.
last thing too, kind of like that was just making me think, is the more fit you are, and this is kind of where people might look at us and be like, how is that possible? Like how are they only doing these short workouts? The more fit you are, which takes time, it takes years of training, the more you can put into each workout. So Julian can do a workout, even that, at the high end is programmed at 115. He can use 135 and still hit the goal. He's doing a lot of work in a short amount of time, which just increases his results from that even more. So the more fit you get through being uncomfortable over and over and over again consistently for years, the more fitness you can actually do in the short amount of time, which increases the results, and it just starts to like snowball. But at first the snowball is very small, and it takes a while for it to start really rolling downhill. So you just have to be patient through that first part.
All of our snowballs are different sizes.
Yes, just don't eat the yellow snowballs.
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into this, but I was talking to Miranda and Jeb. I bring this up to them often about how crazy it is that very, very, very few of us have actually came close to achieving our genetic potential, because like it's so crazy. Like if you have something and you're super consistent, the progression in that you start seeing how much is yet to be unlocked in your fitness journey. And it's pretty exciting when you start seeing that, because, then you get to a point where you're becoming so fit, you will look at something and you'll actually get scared of it because you know how much it's going to hurt intensity output wise. And then then it's a psychological barrier that you have to overcome. But anyway, that's super deep. But what we're just saying is this is a long journey, and you have to figure out what's going to make it fun for you. So stay the course, and we're here with you to keep reminding you that consistency is key more than nothing. Okay. And
send it.
And then send it. All right. Guys, we'll check in with you guys next week. We'll have another topic. Have a good Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with the family. Stay safe, please. And if you have any other questions, feel free to tag us on, Facebook or whatever if you're part of the community. If you're not part of the Street Parking community, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. We'll check in with you guys next week.
And
See
enjoy
ya.
this vault teaser.